Piet. He's both an engineer and a communicator, and in some circles that would probably be considered an oxymoron. But Steve has not only defied the stereotype, he's also earned the title of Distinguished Toastmaster, which is the highest educational award that Toastmasters bestows. The award recognizes a superior level of achievement in both communications and leadership. He's merged his communication skills with his technical skills, publishing several technical papers, book chapters, and making technical presentations. And he continues to give back to Toastmasters through various leadership roles. Contributing to his communication skills is his love for reading. Just in 2016 alone, he read 75 books. He met his wife, Robin, also a distinguished Toastmaster, while donating blood. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall to see that conversation, how that started. But I'm betting you that his art of communication is a large reason why they've been married for 32 years. He's traveled 30 countries and killed countless millions by PowerPoint along the way. I guess you could say he's been a mass murderer on 3 different continents. So let's see, we got blood, we got murder. Is there a theme that we're sensing here? It sounds kind of dark. But seriously, with his background and experience, who better than Steve to address the steps of learning skills and provide pointers for leadership and communications for each of us to own our learning. With that, I'd like to welcome Steve Piet.
Let's start off with a fast trip to Cambodia. My wife and I visited Cambodia 2.5 years ago. Small village. Indeed, we saw villages in Malaysia, Thailand, Cambodia. A year later, we had a trip to India. We saw all kinds of places, very, very poor hamlets. But there was something that we noticed that surprised us. What's this woman got in her hand? How many of you have cell phones here? First message, turn it off. The second message is, there are 1 billion people in Southeast Asia. Well, more than 1 billion just in India alone, who have a device that lets them connect around the world, just like you do. They have access to the sum of human knowledge by that cell phone. And yes, I know people are out hunting Pokemon and all kinds of other things, but they have an access to something they did not have a generation ago. In Malaysia, it is the law that all school children get English along with the language of Malay. In India, it is a law that they learn Hindi, English, and then a local language. Like it or not, there are billions of people who are your competitors. They can communicate here. Ann Hart, who's one of our speakers, told me just this morning, her clients are not generally in Idaho Falls, they're elsewhere. So not only are you competition, but your clients, your customers, can be anywhere in the world. So a thought exercise for you. Imagine the worst speaker possible. And picture that person standing here. It's probably an engineer. I speak from experience. Now imagine the best speaker you've ever seen. And imagine him here. Where are you? Are you over there somewhere? Are you over here? Where are you? I don't care what your discipline is, what your field of work is, what your hobbies are. The soft skills of communication, leadership, I put a whole long list in the handout that'll come at the end. They matter, even if you're an engineer, even if you're a scientist. You must know communication and leadership. You must know the things that the other speakers will talk about. You must know how to manage your stress, how to deal with it, how to channel it. Things that Ann and Dan kind of rhymes, doesn't it? We'll talk about. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do to take wherever you are and go in that direction? How do you even find out where you are across here? Now, when I joined this organization called Toastmasters 12 years ago, I thought I was, like here. Well, I found out that for some of my skills, I was over here. I had no eye contact. I spoke in a monotone. I looked everywhere other than at the audience. But you know, I had other skills that I didn't appreciate as much, and they were over here. You see, we all tend to underestimate and undervalue the things we already do well. So you want to put yourself in an organization, Toastmasters or others, where you can learn the soft skills, but also evaluate yourself. So my talk, we're going to talk about elements of leadership. Leadership and communication, we use different words in English, but they're really two sides of the same coin. You see, if I'm going to lead someone, a customer, a spouse, a child, a grandchild, if I'm going to lead myself, I have to communicate. And when I communicate, whether I intend it or not, I'm leading. If I yell at a child, I'm leading them, not to a good place. So when you communicate, you lead, you communicate. Now when I say lead, I do not mean boss. Many of you have probably seen this picture where the canonical boss is expecting other people to carry their burden. The leader gets in front and shows the way and does the work. Now some of you are lucky enough to be engineers, in which case you have a third option. Just got to throw that into those of you who, care about engineering. So my talk's going to have three main parts. The first is on how we learn. After each third, I'll ask for questions. And do you know the learning process? And I don't mean getting a grade in school. I mean life. Well, there's 5 stages. The first is called unconscious incompetence. You don't know what you don't know. Some would say ignorance is bliss. Well, it's not blissful if your fly is down. It's not blissful if you've lost all of your customers because someone took them from you. It's not blissful if you don't fulfill your dreams because you haven't really explored them. So to get out of stage 1, you have to put yourself in a position of discovering skills. You came here today. You put yourself in a situation where you can discover new skills. That gets you over to stage 2. In Star Wars, we call this a Jedi initiate. You've now gotten to conscious incompetence. You know that there's something out there, there's a skill that you don't have. That'll help you. Great? Better off? Now, you've needed help to get here because you need help to discover. If you're coaching other people, coach them to go to places, to be in organizations, to be in situations where you'll discover new things. Now you want to acquire a new skill. You need guidance, because I just walked in a straight line. If you're doing this without help, you might go wandering all over the place. You want to get to conscious competence, where you can do it, but you have to be thinking about it. It's like the first time you went down the bunny hill on your skis and you said, I tried really, really hard, and I got down the hill without falling down. That's a big step. That's a big progress. You've acquired a skill, but you have to think about it. Now, there's a problem. When you're speaking, when you're leading, when you're skiing down a hill, you cannot be thinking about all the component skills at every instant. It's cognitive overload. You have to make things automatic. When you're walking into a room, you don't think about exactly where you're going to put each foot. It's automatic. So you want to progress, you want to internalize to unconscious competence. You've gone from Jedi Initiate to Jedi Padawan to Jedi Knight. You can do that skill, whatever the skill might be. Well, I've left myself a little bit of room in here, so you know there's a stage 5 coming. Now you want to master that skill. You want to be a Jedi Master. You want to be Yoda or Obi-Wan. You don't want to be a Sith. You want to not only take what you've learned and emulate the people who've taught you, but you want to go beyond. You want to create things that no one's done before. That's world class. Maybe it will be teaching people their mojo, like Anne does. She's led groups to Taiwan, and, not Taiwan, Thailand, and who knows where else. Maybe it's cybersecurity, whatever it is. You want to take control of your skill development. Recognize what skills you want for your job, for your next job, for the job after that. Assess where you are. Are you there? Are you here? Can you do it? If you concentrate, can you do it with mastery? Figure out what skills you need, where you are, and then what's your plan to get you from there to there. You own it. What are you doing about it? Well, you're here today. So I'll break at this point. What questions might you have at this point? Shoot. Unconscious incompetence. Conscious incompetence. Conscious competence. Unconscious competence. And then mastery. Or in Star Wars, you're discovered as a Jedi Initiate, a Padawan, a Jedi Knight, a Jedi Master. You want to become Yoda. You know, in other talks I will use references, and I have been told that I'm out of date, so it happens. Anything else?
So your challenge was to take, from whatever stage you were in, map out and to where you want to be. Is that right at the end?
Yes, my challenge is, her question was to repeat the challenge, and the challenge is indeed to figure out where you are and move toward mastery. And I don't mean on every possible skill, on the skills that matter to you. Okay? You may or may not want to be able to stand up in front of 127 people here today and speak. Okay? I happen to want that. That doesn't mean you don't need to do that. It's whatever you want to do. So the good news is you own it. Not everyone else. You own it. You can get from wherever you are to where you want to be. Recognize the steps, do some serious self-assessment, and get help in moving across your skill development. Recognize, of course, that you can be a master in some things and be over here on something else. It's the same with the people you are coaching, the people that you work with. They'll be in various stages of skill development. And now, second part. How many times when you're a leader have you had the experience that someone that you're working with doesn't appreciate the guidance and help that you're giving them? Might that have happened to you? Let me see you show of hands. That's quite a few. And the flip side, how many times have you not, shall we say, appreciate what the boss man is doing to help you? Fewer than I expected. Either that or your boss is here and you didn't want to raise your hand. This happens. What stays here, so forth and so on. Why do those things happen? Any clues? Lack of communication. I'll expand that to what is called situational leadership. Just as I told you, skills can be anywhere along this line. You have to adapt to that. If you're a leader, and you're all leaders, whether you like it or not, you're all leaders. At minimum, you lead yourself. Who else is going to do it? So, I need 2 volunteers. Young lady down here, young lady over here. It won't hurt. I promise. I've never killed a volunteer yet. Okay. Well, you're on this side of the skill line. So I am going to use with you the micromanage skill. I'm going to dictate to you. I'm going to tell you exactly what I want done, exactly when I want it done, and how I want it done. And I'm going to do that every task you have. Anyone have a boss? Again, well, this time don't raise your hand. Ever seen a boss that does that to you? Now, how does that make you feel?
That I can't be creative.
That you can't be creative? What else?
That I can't own my own future. That I don't want to be.
She doesn't own her own future. Isn't that horrible? Okay? Now with you, I'm going to delegate. I'm also going to let you sink or swim. I'm just going to let her go off, and I'm not going to give her one piece of advice. How does that make you feel?
Lost.
Lost. Why?
Because you don't know what your boss is looking for, so what is something else.
The boss is setting you up for failure. Have you heard the phrase, let's test how out of date I am, of bring me a rock exercise? She just described it. In fact, the worst type of bring me a rock is when the boss bounces from this style to this style. I give you a whole lot of instructions. You think you're going to do it. You come back later. It's not the right rock. It's the wrong color. It's the wrong shape. It's the wrong whatever. And so then I go and say, just go do it. Well, I didn't really mean that. I meant do it the way I want it, but I was, in the middle of a crisis myself, so I just said, go do it. So one of our problems we all tend to do, I know I do it. I've done it with my kids, who are now 20-somethings. They've survived that far. You want to realize that there are these two different skills. But taken to the extreme, they are generally not a good idea. You want to understand that there's a range of ways of interacting, of communicating, from here to here. Your job as a leader is to figure out what is appropriate in a given case. And just like I said before, on one skill you might be over there, another skill you might want to be over here. Just because you've had someone in your team that you've been able to delegate to and not worry about, they might come across a task, you might give them a task, that they need some help with. And you have to peel back a bit. Or you might have someone, a grad student, for example, otherwise known as a slave, that you have to tell everything all the time, but you might come across a task where, gee, they know more than you, and therefore you better treat them this way. So there's a whole range of skills. Let me give you just a slight change of words to illustrate. Do it. Do it my way. Why don't you do it my way? Consider doing it my way. What way should you do it? Come give me your ideas on how you're going to do it. Pick your idea and explain it to me. Will your idea have the desired effect? Just go do it your way. How we use those words tells the people we're leading somewhere in between here. So learn that skill, make it automatic with you, master it, so that as you're interacting with people, your spouse, kids, co-workers, leading your boss, where are they in skill development, and what is the proper reaction? If you use a skill here and the person seems floundering, readjust. You want to become a master of the full range of options. Because sometimes this will work, sometimes that'll work. An example, if you haven't done CPR before and saved a life in an emergency, and you call up 911, you don't want a delegation style, where the person at 911 calls and tells you, well, just do it your way. You want that person to be directive in their behavior. On the other hand, if you're over here and you know more than the boss, and the boss tries to dictate to you, well, you're not going to like it. Now, the final thing in situational leadership is that you want to change. If you're a leader, you want to help people in their skill development from over here to over there. Please take my arm, young lady. You want to lead your people in skill development over to this side. You want to make more leaders. One of the ways you differentiate between a boss and a leader is the boss wants followers. A leader wants to create more leaders. And you do that by giving them progressively more responsibility on more and more tasks as they're ready, so that they are over here. That frees you up to go do another job. It's a real pain if you're looking for advancement, you're looking for a new challenge, a new promotion, but you're too indispensable. If you've kept all your people over here, and therefore the organization is in deep yogurt, if you go away, Well, you haven't served yourself, and you haven't served them, and you haven't served the organization. So you want to move your people over here, create more leaders, create more people with skills, develop their human potential. Now, how do you like that strategy? So what are you going to do about it? When you go back to work, what are you going to do about it? Create more leaders. You're going to also have the tool to subtly lead your boss. Recognize if they're treating you here and you think you should be over here, then find a way to tell them that. If on the other hand, you've got a task and you don't got a clue, again, you might be an expert on a whole flock of things, but you might have a new task where you don't have a clue. You've got to have the courage to go back to the boss lady and say, I need more help. I need more guidance. And you're signaling that you need to be over here, at least for a while. So recognize the relationships you have. Leading, being led, and where you want to be on a different, each individual skill. Thank you. Questions? Quiet crowd. That can be good or bad. Way in the back. Any questions?
What are some ways for the community to communicate to the boss, which is often difficult? Hey, maybe I can do this plus. Can you give me some direction?
The question was, if you're being treated over here in the direct tell mode, micromanage sense, how do you communicate to the boss that you're ready to be treated someplace else? Well, there's a couple of ways. One is to simply say, I think I got this, boss. Let me come back in a week, whatever the right time period is, and see if I got it right. Another tool that is almost always helpful is reflective listening. Does that phrase mean anything to people? Okay. Reflective listening means to show the person who's talking to you that you heard them by repeating in your words back to them what they said. So you're over here, boss is telling you something, and you go beyond the, I got it, boss. Boss, I understand you want a round rock with pink polka dots, da-da-da-da-da-da, and you repeat back in your words as quickly as you can that you're demonstrating to your boss man, I got it. You can also explain this if you've got more time. You can give a story. In fact, the third part of my talk is going to be on persuasion. So, great leading, Peter. Thank you. But you want to always understand, again, where you are, your team is, on different skills, and adapt to that situation. Anything else? Next question. Or people put up their hands like this, then I know they don't want to ask a question. It won't hurt.
So this goes back to earlier when I introduced you, but you read 65 and 75 books in 2016.
Yep.
Describe some of the favorites and the genres that you read.
I read all kinds of books. In part because I got involved, thanks to my wife, in the Idaho Falls Library Extreme Book Nerd Challenge. The challenge is to read 50 books during the year, but not just any book. They give you a set of categories, and you have to read a book in each category. And the categories are really eclectic. One last year was a book with a blue cover. It's a little trickier when it's electronic books. a book written by an author born before, what was it, 1700 or something? I forget. The purpose of the challenge, of course, is to get you to read more books and to read more books of more types. Now, I'm a history buff. I essentially minored in history in college. So one of the books I read, you asked me, John, I read several histories. One was the founding mothers of the United States. We hear a whole lot about Ben Franklin and all the other founding fathers. Well, Kobe Roberts wrote an interesting little book on the founding mothers. That opened my eyes to various things. Another book I read was Women in the Middle Ages. History book, SPQR, which is the Roman acronym for In the Name of the People and Senate of Rome. I can't speak Latin, so that's the best I can do. It's about 1,000 years of Roman history, about the development of the Roman Republic and its slow slide into the Roman Empire, and then the slow slide into chaos. Why that happened. What do we really know? What's meant and so forth? It's a very big, thick book. It took me a while to read. So I read all manner of things. I also read a book published posthumously by Dr. Seuss and some other Dr. Seuss books that I had not read since my kids were little. And rereading them is fun. It also met one of the categories real easily. Anything else?
If we wanted to join Toastmasters in our communities, how would we do that?
Yes! Give this lady a prize. It just so happens that the handout lists all the Toastmaster clubs in eastern Idaho. There's some in Pocatello, we're starting one in Blackfoot, there's several here, there's one at the INL. The INL club's president is Hope. Hope, tell people where they can go.
We meet every other Thursday before working Friday, 7 to 8 o'clock in the IRC conference room 120. We love guests. You don't have to join, but once you show up, we'll pressure you into it.
We got a club in Rexburg. We also got a club in Jackson. Toastmasters is an organization where there's around 350,000 people around the world in 135 countries. And remember I started with Cambodia? I don't happen to know if we've got clubs in Cambodia. But the biggest growth of the organization is in Asia because they get to practice communication in English skills. Again, they're your competitors, but they can also be your clients. Let me move to the third part. Think about the last time you tried to persuade someone of something. How did it go? Did you nail it? Did that person you were trying to persuade just bow down and say, yep, I got it, woohoo! I'm with you 100%, I understand perfectly. You convinced me. Who had that experience? And what about the last time someone tried to persuade you of something? How did that go? Did you clash? Would you like to know a little bit about techniques of persuasion? Both so you can use them and you recognize what's going on around you. Because we're always in a mode of someone trying to persuade us of something or we're persuading them of something. It might be as simple as, hey dear, let's go out to dinner. I want to go to my favorite restaurant. Well, that's persuasion. Well, it turns out there are three main modes of persuasion. The first, I like to call, we shall overcome. You see, we all have mental filters. This is spooky social science. I'm warning you. We all have mental filters. You can call it paradigm, you can call it mental models, I don't care what you call it. The point is, we have our ways of thinking about things. And so all the information that's tossed at us has to get through that mental filter. Now, I'm not saying this is conscious, this is all automatic. Now, we like to conserve our mental models because they're who we are at any given time. Well, so does everybody else. That's why a lot of times you tell someone something and they don't even hear you. Well, you can't persuade them if you haven't gotten past that mental filter. Now, if you want to learn new skills, or you want to open up yourself to the scary, terrifying possibility that you might have to adjust your opinion, scary. You also have to learn to drop your filter on occasion. You see, filters can be very, very cozy. They can be a cozy box. This is why we sometimes talk about getting outside of your box. Well, your filters have formed a box. If you're not careful, that cozy box can become a comfy, cozy coffin. You can become brain dead to new ideas. Well, you're not going to learn new skills that way. You're not going to make new clients that way. You're not going to make new friends that way. You become dead to new ideas. You're in a box. So the next time a friend comes over to you and says, think about this in a new way, and there's different ways of saying that, they might be knocking on your coffin and want to resurrect your brain. So, some techniques. You start with, we shall overcome. Well, you've got the mental filter, and someone is hitting you with facts, with figures, with things that they think you can't deny. Brute force. Now, this technique and the other two that I'll show you, there's not anything inherently wrong or inherently good about any technique. It's what's appropriate for the situation. Just like leadership skills, you want to be able to use a range of skills and recognize that they're using skills with you. So quite often people will throw a whole bunch of numbers or facts or whatever, and they're trying to bash through your mental filter. And what do people typically do if that doesn't work?
Talk louder.
Bingo. They talk louder. They throw more facts at you. Maybe it'll work. Years ago, I was in an international design project. It was really, really bizarre. We had a quarter of the team were Americans, a quarter were Russians, Soviets at the time, a quarter European, and a quarter Japanese. The official language was broken English. I was safety design lead, which meant I was a bad guy. Because it was my job to find faults in design. And I did. There's one particular meeting I went into. This team had worked on a design project, design element, for months. It was an international team. And in the first 5 minutes, I asked a not innocent question. Jaws dropped. I had found a fatal flaw. I overcame the fatal flaw. I pointed it out. It was undeniable. I won. Unfortunately, no matter how gently I said it, I also harmed my relationship with several of my colleagues. The old win the battle, lose the war. So, we shall overcome is an important strategy. Recognize when it's being used, recognize when you're using it, and recognize when it's not working. Next strategy. Don't worry, be happy. Remember that that song? Another age test. I got to update some of my references. Humans love stories. We are born storytellers. So instead of trying to bash your way through that mental filter, you might hurl some humor, or slide a slogan, or slip a story past that filter. Because people like stories and songs and slogans. A nice, fancy image on your Facebook page. I know, again, I'm dating myself. I, as an engineer, had to learn that it's not always facts and figures. It can be stories. And I'll give you an example. What do you think would be more persuasive to you? An hour-long lecture on Elizabethan age socioeconomics, or the images and feelings in your mind when I say this word, Scrooge? That's a powerful, endearing image. And there's other ones. I'm not going to think of them. Stories, songs, and humor and slogans tend to defeat the mental filter. It gets on the other side, sneaks in there. That's because we are all programmed to like all those sorts of things. Sitting around a campfire, telling stories and so forth. That's part of being human. That's part of persuasion. So I can try to bash my way through that filter. I can try to get around it. Well, there's a third strategy. He's not heavy, he's my brother. Now, instead of trying to defeat that filter, I am trying to work with it, trying to find common cause. That phrase, he's not heavy, he's my brother, I'm reframing. I'm saying it's not a problem. It's instead an opportunity to serve. I'll give you an example, again, from that crazy international project. At the time, hard to imagine, I had hair, I was younger, I was thinner, I was a brash young American. I was trying to sell a safety program, a safety strategy to the rest of the team, and I was successful. I had one person who was really fighting me. It's an old, crusty German guy. He did not like what I was selling at all. Because I was telling him ways his part of the design could fail. So I had triggered the macho reaction. Well, that didn't work. And I tried and tried and tried that strategy of overcoming him with facts and figures and arguments. Failed. I finally had a chance to talk to him one-on-one in his office. And I showed him that I was actually making his life easier. Because I was building a safety case where his component could fail and not endanger the public. Therefore, the regulators would leave him alone. So when I reframed the problem from, I think your gizmo can fail, to, I have a way to make your job easier and the regulators will leave you and your people alone, I reframed it. I adjusted what the problem was. When I left that meeting, I had turned a fierce opponent into an ally. By not overpowering, but by changing and working with his filter, his image of what the problem was. I had changed it. Man, is that lots more satisfying than bashing your way through. Now, these are all three different techniques. They all work on different occasions. Your job is to recognize what's going on, recognize when one strategy is not working, you try something else. Maybe you can't find common ground. Maybe you have to smash your way through. But recognize those 3 strategies that exist. So it's about time for me to wrap up. I'll leave you with 3 thoughts. The first is from Confucius. I hear, I forget, I see, I remember, I do and I understand. This day, my talk, the other talks, mean nothing if you don't understand and apply them. Join a Toastmaster Club. Take a trip with Ann. Go work with Bree on cybersecurity, with Dan on managing stress. Yeah, apply it. Do it. And of course, even if you're on the right track, you can get run over in a competitive world if you're not moving. My son, who's a neurobiology expert, told me that if a shark stops swimming, it dies. If we as humans stop learning, either because of our mental filters, whatever it might be, we die. We die inside. And finally, the great wisdom from Dr. Seuss: you have brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself anywhere you choose. You choose, you control your learning. You've got the skills, and go do it. Questions?